why most millionaires are broke, and how to fix it. There are three types of rich people: those who are rich but still feel broke, those who are rich but still have to work, and those who are truly free. Today, I'm going to show you the exact formula that separates them and why most entrepreneurs are a lot closer to freedom than they think. I'm Mike Brown, and I've spent the last decade building and selling companies. After selling my 8-figure investment firm, I made every mistake in the book trying to turn my windfall into lasting wealth. I lost millions making risky bets and chasing shiny objects when the answer was actually much simpler. Now, I work with some of the most successful entrepreneurs on the planet, showing them how to create true financial freedom, the kind where you never have to think about money again. Not because you have an infinite amount, but because you've built a system that works for you instead of against you. In this video, I'm going to break down the 3 levels of financial freedom and show you exactly how to reach what I call escape velocity, the point where your assets generate enough cash flow to cover your lifestyle without ever touching the principal. The best part? You've probably already make enough money to get there. You just need the roadmap. Before we dive into the 3 levels, I want to tell you the story. After building my successful oil and gas investment firm for nearly a decade, I thought I had it all figured out. I was a professional investor. I generated over $100 million in returns for myself, my partners, and my investors. I understood complex deal structures, risk management, how to evaluate opportunities. So naturally, when I started having excess capital, I did what wealthy people were supposed to do. I became an angel investor. From 2014 to 2017, I deployed over $2 million into startup deals. I was investing alongside of some of the smartest people I knew. I was getting into exclusive deals that weren't available to the general public. I thought I was playing the game at the highest level. What I didn't realize is that I was actually sabotaging my path to true freedom. If I had kept that same capital in my primary business, the one area where I had real expertise and edge, it would have been worth over $10 million at the time of our exit. But here's the real kicker. Even after we sold the company, I kept making the same mistakes. I was taking money out of safe, boring investments, and I was swinging for the fences, always chasing that next big win. Till one day, I found myself losing $100,000 a month in a failed turnaround startup, watching my bank account drain towards zero. And even though I was still a multimillionaire on paper, I felt broke and I was scared. Here's what I learned. It's not about how much money you make. I was making millions as a professional investor, generating over $100 million in returns for myself, my partners, and investors. But I couldn't exercise that same discipline in my personal life. And I see this pattern repeated over and over with the entrepreneurs I work with. No matter how successful they become, no matter how much their revenue grows, they never feel secure. There's always this underlying anxiety, this fear that it could all disappear tomorrow. You know what I'm talking about, right? That voice in the back of your head keeps asking, what if? What if the market crashes? What if my biggest client leaves? What if my team quits? What if? It's exhausting. And there's a reason for this, and it's not your fault. We are literally not wired for wealth. Our brains evolved over hundreds of thousands of years to survive in a world of scarcity. The concept that we could have enough resources to last beyond our lifetime has only existed for about 6,000 years. Since the invention of money itself, quite simply, our brains haven't had time to adapt. That's why no matter how much money you make, it never feels like enough. That's why you might be doing 7 figures in revenue, but still feel like you're one bad month away from a disaster. This is exactly why we need a framework, because if we're going to overcome our biological programming, we need a system. We need clear markers to tell us when we're actually safe, when we're stable, and when we've reached true freedom. That's what the 3 levels of financial freedom are all about. This isn't some theoretical concept. This is the exact framework I wish I had when I was building my first company. It's what I've used to help hundreds of entrepreneurs bridge the gap between wealth and freedom. And the best part, most of the entrepreneurs I work with are shocked to discover that they're a lot closer to true freedom than they think. They just need to stop doing the things that are actually keeping them stuck. So let's break down these 3 levels, and I'll show you exactly how to reach what I call escape velocity, the point where you never have to worry about money again. Let's talk about level 1, safety. This is your foundation, and like any good foundation, it's not sexy, but it's absolutely critical. Level 1 means having 12 months of living expenses and liquid assets. Now, when I say liquid, I mean something you can access within 24 hours and that's resistant to market volatility. So not your crypto, not your real estate portfolio, not your business equity. I'm talking about boring old cash or cash equivalents. And this usually triggers one of two reactions from entrepreneurs. Either they think that's way too conservative and I need my money working for me, or they break out in a cold sweat because they realize they don't even have 2 months of runway saved. Let me tell you a story about why this matters. Remember that failed business venture that I mentioned? When I bought that e-commerce company, I was so confident in my ability to turn it around that I ignored one of the fundamental rules of investing. Never risk money you can't afford to lose. I had plenty of assets on paper, a beautiful portfolio of angel investments, real estate, crypto, but when things went sideways and I needed cash fast, guess what? Everything was illiquid. I found myself in the nightmare scenario of being asset rich, but cash poor. Here's what most entrepreneurs get wrong. They think that their business is their safety net, but your business isn't a safety net. It's a wealth creation vehicle. And just like a race car needs a pit crew and backup systems, you need financial infrastructure to support your wealth building machine. I see this all the time in my coaching practice. I'll sit down with founders doing multiple millions in revenue. And when I ask them about their personal runway, they look at me like I'm speaking a foreign language. They're so focused on reinvesting in their business or chasing the next opportunity that they've completely neglected their financial foundation. Think about it. What would change in your business decisions if you knew you had 12 months of runway, no matter what happened? How would it affect your negotiating position if you knew you could walk away from any deal? What risks you'd be willing to take in your business if you knew your personal life was completely protected? This is why level 1 is non-negotiable. It's not just about having a safety net. It's about creating the psychological safety you need to play bigger in your business. Because here's the truth. You can't build real wealth from a place of fear. And if you're constantly worried about making payroll or paying your mortgage, you're operating from fear, whether you admit it or not. The good news, getting to level 1 is simple math. Take your monthly expenses, multiply by 12, and that's your target. If you're spending $20,000 a month, you need $240,000 in liquid assets, period. No complicated strategies, no fancy investment vehicles, just pure, simple safety. Level 2 is what I call stability. And this is where things start to get interesting. At this level, we're talking about having 5 to 7 years of living expenses and assets. Not necessarily all liquid like level 1, but in investments that are relatively safe and accessible. Now, I can already hear some of you thinking, 5 to 7 years, that's crazy. I need my money working harder than that. I get it. That's exactly my mindset when I started investing in startups. I thought I needed to swing for the fences with every dollar I had. But here's what I learned with working with some of the wealthiest families in the country. The first rule of the wealthy is never lose money. Let me tell you a story that changed everything for me. I was raising money for a venture fund. I already had an anchor investor, and I went to pitch one of my most trusted allies, a family office that had invested in many of my oil and gas deals. I gave them the best pitch, and to my surprise, they politely declined. I was shocked. These people knew me, trusted me, and I'd made them millions. When I asked why, they simply said, "We don't invest in first-time fund managers. You have a track record in oil and gas, but this is your first venture fund. The data shows that first-time fund managers fail more often than they win." Then told me something I'll never forget. The number one rule in this office is to never lose money. They would rather sit on the sidelines and miss a potential opportunity than risk losing capital on an uncertain bet. And this is what level 2 is all about. It's not about maximizing returns. It's about creating a fortress of stability that protects you from the unexpected. Because here's the reality that most entrepreneurs don't want to face. Success isn't linear. Markets crash, businesses fail, black swan events happen. The math for level 2 is straightforward. Take your annual expenses and multiply by 5 to 7. If you're spending $240,000 a year, that means you need 1.2 to 1.7 million in stable assets. But here's where we can start getting strategic about growth while maintaining stability. I like to think of level 2 investments as a balanced portfolio. You might put 60% in low-cost index funds because trying to beat the market is a fool's errand. Warren Buffett himself has said that most investors would be better off just buying the S&P 500 and holding for the long term. This is also where you might start working with a wealth manager to build a diversified portfolio. But remember, we're not trying to hit home runs here. We're looking for singles and doubles that compound over time. The goal at level 2 isn't to get rich quick. It's to never get poor. Think of it like building a moat around your castle. Every stable investment you make, every property you acquire that cash flows, every index fund contribution, they're all widening that moat, making it harder and harder for financial disasters to reach you. And here's where it gets powerful. When you have 5 to 7 years of runway backed by stable growing assets, something remarkable happens to your psychology. That constant background anxiety about money starts to fade. The voice in your head always pushing you to make more gets quieter, because now you're not making decisions from a place of scarcity. You're not taking that client that you know is wrong for your business just because you need the cash. You're not saying yes to opportunities that don't align with your values just because you're afraid to say no. This is also the level where you can truly start playing the long game in your business, when you can make decisions based on what's right, not just what's right now. And here's the part that might surprise you. Getting to level 2 does not require you to be a brilliant investor. In fact, it's quite opposite. It requires you to be boring. Because remember, the goal here isn't to get rich, it's to never get poor. Now we come to level 3. What I call escape velocity. And this is where everything changes. This isn't just about having a safety net or stability. It's about true freedom. It's the point where your assets generate enough cash flow to cover your lifestyle expenses without ever touching the principal. Now, let me be crystal clear about what this means. This isn't about having forget you money. It's about having forget about money. It's the point where money becomes a tool that serves you rather than something you serve. Here's the simple math that changed my life. Take your annual expenses and multiply by 25. That's your target for escape velocity. So if you're spending $300,000 a year, you need 7.5 million generating 4% to never have to work again. Now, I know what you might be thinking. That's a big number. But here's where most entrepreneurs get it completely wrong. They think they need to take massive risks to get there. So they start angel investing, buying crypto, or even worse, taking money out of their profitable business to chase passive income opportunities. Trust me, I learned this lesson the hard way. From 2014 to 2017, I took $2 million out of my highly profitable oil and gas firm to invest in startups. I thought I was being smart, diversifying my portfolio, playing the game at a higher level. If I had kept that same money in my business, it would have been worth $10 million at the time of our exit. And here's the truth that nobody talks about. Your best path to escape velocity is usually right under your nose. It's your primary business, the one where you have real expertise, real edge, and real control over the outcome. But there's a catch. You have to be intentional about how you build it. Most entrepreneurs are stuck on the treadmill of reinvesting everything back into growth, always chasing that next level. They tell themselves they'll figure the freedom part out later. But the problem is, later never comes because they haven't built the right infrastructure to turn that business income into lasting wealth. That's why I teach what I call the barbell strategy. On one end, you have your business, your wealth creation vehicle. This is where you can take calculated risk because you understand the game you're playing. On the other end, you have your freedom assets, boring, reliable investments that generate steady cash flow. The key is nothing in the middle. No interesting crypto projects, no random angel investments, no exotic tax schemes. Because here's what I know now that I wish I knew then. Complexity is the enemy of wealth. Getting to escape velocity isn't about being a brilliant investor. It's about being a disciplined allocator of capital. It's about taking the profits from your business and systematically building a framework that will eventually replace your need to work. And here's the part that blows most entrepreneurs' minds. Once you hit escape velocity, something magical happens. Your business decisions completely change because now you're not operating from a place of need. You're operating from a place of choice. Imagine walking into your office knowing you don't need to be there. Imagine evaluating opportunities not based on how much money they might make, but how much joy they might bring you. That's what escape velocity makes possible. This is why I'm so passionate about this framework. It's because I've watched too many successful entrepreneurs burn themselves out chasing a freedom that was actually within their grasp the whole time. They just needed a roadmap to get there. So let me wrap this up by telling you something that I think might surprise you. Most of the entrepreneurs I work with are a lot closer to true freedom than they think. The problem isn't that they don't make enough money. It's that they've never had a framework to turn that income into lasting wealth. Think about where you are right now. If you're not at level 1, your first priority is building that 12-month safety net. No fancy strategies, no complicated investments, just pure safety. If you're at level 1, but not level 2, focus on building that 5 to 7 year fortress of stability. And if you're approaching level 2, it's time to get serious about your path to escape velocity. Here's the most important thing I want you to take away from this video. You don't have to choose between building wealth and living a great life right now. You don't have to put your happiness on hold until you reach some magical number. The framework I've shared with you today isn't about sacrifice. It's about alignment. It's about making sure every dollar you earn is actively working to buy back your freedom. If this resonates with you, I put together a powerful tool called the Wealth Snapshot. It's the exact template I use with my private clients to map out their path to escape velocity. You can download it for free using the link in the description below. And if you're serious about accelerating your journey to true financial freedom, check out my Unbreakable Wealth program. It's where I work with entrepreneurs just like you to bridge the gap between wealth and freedom. Again, links in the description. Finally, if you found value in this video, make sure to hit like and subscribe. I'm sharing weekly insights on building true wealth and freedom, and I don't want you to miss what's coming next. Remember, you're probably closer to freedom than you think. You just need the right roadmap to get there.